Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise to bring you insights that, well, make you truly well-informed. Today, we're diving into something we all kind of know, the wish list. You know, that list of things we dream about getting or doing. But we're focusing on a really specific one today, a photographer's hunt for new camera gear. It's often a very personal thing, reflects creative ambition. Yeah, so our mission is to unpack these recent notes from photographer Eng, who's thinking about a pretty big gear shift. We'll look at the specific Panasonic and Pentax cameras that have caught their eye, what features are drawing them in, and crucially, the real-world stuff that kind of puts the brakes on those dreams. Our source here is Eng's piece, The Photographer's Wish List, Panasonic and Pentax Systems, published just August 27th, 2025, gives us a great peek into someone balancing passion and, well, practicality.
It really does. Eng's notes, they really show that constant back and forth that happens in a creative mind, don't they? It's not just, wanting a new shiny toy. It's about seeing new ways to create art, maybe a different workflow, or even just seeing differently. So digging into these specific wishes lets us look at the bigger picture, like what makes photographers look for different tools, even if their current gear works fine. It's that constant pull towards something new, something that might unlock a different creative angle or solve a problem they didn't even know they had until they saw the solution, maybe.
Okay, so let's unpack this first part. Eng talks about the strong temptation, especially with Panasonic systems whenever they see them. They mention it's been on their wish list for so many moons, which is a great phrase, even though finding Panasonic cameras in stores isn't always easy. That so many moons bit, it really says something, doesn't it? Like this persistent, almost nagging desire for this brand.
Well, absolutely. It really highlights that dynamic, the appeal of a system, even when it's kind of hard to get your hands on. For a photographer, certain brands or specific features can really resonate, almost like they're calling out to them. And like you said, it's not just about brand names or the newest tech buzz. It's often more emotional, like a gut feeling that the system might just fit their style better as it evolves or for a specific project. Or maybe it just offers a different way of looking at things. And the difficulty in finding them, sometimes that just adds to the mystique, makes it feel more special than just grabbing something off the shelf. Intensifies the want.
Yeah, that scarcity thing definitely adds to the allure. But Eng's list isn't just one thing. It's quite varied, touches on different ideas. First up, we need to dig into Pentax. This seems to appeal to a very specific need set, especially ruggedness and maybe a kind of artistic purity Eng hints at. It's not just a random I want everything list. Seems very thought out.
Exactly. It tells you right away. Eng understands the different tools out there and how they match up with different ways of shooting, different practical needs. They're not just looking at spec sheets. They're thinking about what these cameras actually let them do. It's practical, yeah, but also driven by specific creative urges.
And first on that Pentax list is the rugged WG series. When I hear rugged, I immediately think, okay, this camera's built like a tank. For photographers who really push their gear, what are the maybe less obvious benefits of a rugged camera like the WG? And are there trade-offs compared to, say, a more delicate high-res mirrorless?
That's a great question. Because rugged is way more than just surviving a drop, right? It means specific design choices, serious weather sealing, often like IPX8 standards, that sort of thing. Robust build inside, maybe a magnesium alloy body, sometimes even freeze-proof down to, pretty cold temperatures. So the camera isn't just tough, it's made to actually work reliably in rough conditions. Heavy rain, dusty deserts, even underwater. A lot of the WG cameras can handle that. Think about journalists in tough spots, adventure photographers climbing mountains, people documenting construction sites, or even just families who want a camera that won't freak out at the beach. The less obvious benefit, it's the peace of mind. Lets you focus completely on getting the shot instead of worrying about babying your gear. As for trade-offs, yeah, there usually are. Rugged cameras often focus on durability, maybe over the absolute latest sensor tech, or having interchangeable lenses. They might have smaller sensors or fixed lenses, maybe slightly less advanced autofocus compared to a top-tier mirrorless. The main goal is reliability and survival in tough spots, sometimes sacrificing a bit of that ultimate image quality you might get in perfect studio conditions. So yeah, you trade some creative flexibility maybe for just being incredibly tough.
Right, makes sense. A tool designed for specific jobs. But Eng's next Pentax choice is, wow, really interesting, the unique black and white only K-3 Mark III Monochrome. A camera that only shoots black and white. In today's world of amazing color sensors and powerful editing software, what's the real pull for a dedicated monochrome sensor like that? Does it genuinely do something you can't just get by shooting color and converting it later?
Yeah, that really hits on the difference between artistic intent
and just technical capability. A black and white only sensor, it's not just applying a filter. It's a completely different tool. It changes how the camera actually captures light. See, a normal color sensor uses what's called a Bayer filter array, basically a grid of red, green, and blue filters over the pixels. It figures out the color by sampling these different wavelengths. A monochrome sensor, it doesn't have that filter array. Every single pixel is just capturing pure brightness, information, luminance. This means it skips a whole process called demosaicing, where the camera has to kind of guess or interpolate the missing color info, which can sometimes create tiny flaws or artifacts. So the direct benefit, you get way better signal to noise, especially at high ISOs. That means incredibly clean images, even when it's really dark. It also tends to have a wider native dynamic range, meaning it can capture more detail in the really bright parts and the really dark parts of a scene at the same time. For someone who's really into black and white, it's not just about the look.
It's about getting a grayscale image with incredible fidelity, smooth tones, rich textures, stuff that even really good conversion from a color file can struggle to match perfectly. And it forces you, the photographer, to see the world just in terms of light, shadow, shape, form, which can be honestly a really freeing and focusing way to work.
Wow, okay. That definitely explains the artistic drive. But when you talk about committing to a vision like pure monochrome, does that also mean it's kind of niche? Like, does it limit the kinds of jobs Aang could do with it? Could that purity sometimes be, well, impractical for a working photographer?
That's a totally fair point. While the monochrome sensor is amazing for black and white, it obviously can't do color
Yeah.
at all. So if Aang's main work needs color photos, this camera becomes a second body, a specialized tool, not the main workhorse. For some people, yeah, that's a limitation. For others, it's a deliberate choice. They want to specialize to really hone that black and white craft. It signals the commitment where the artistic purity is more important than the practical need for color flexibility. Choosing to be brilliant at one specific thing instead of okay at everything, the kind of artistic luxury maybe, but one that definitely gives unique results.
A luxury. Yeah, I like that framing. Specialization. Now, Aang's list isn't just Pentax. Their interest takes a pretty clear turn when we get to Panasonic. They mention wanting to try the compact G100 series specifically for vlogging. That sounds like a completely different world from the rugged or artsy Pentax stuff. We're firmly in modern content creation territory here, aren't we?
Absolutely. And it really shows the versatility photographers often look for in their gear collection, how specific tools get designed for new media demands. The compact part of the G100 series is key. It's built for portability, easy handling for video. Vlogging often means holding the camera out at arm's length, right? So lightweight helps. And it needs features like a flip-out screen so you can see yourself, decent face tracking autofocus, good options for plugging in external mics. The G100 is pretty much engineered specifically for that growing need for easy-to-use vlogging setups. It often has things like built-in image stabilization or clever electronic stabilization to smooth out shaky walking shots. Tries to minimize problems like rolling shutter that can distort movement. This isn't about, shooting a Hollywood movie. It's about letting creators make engaging, good-looking video easily without needing a huge, complex rig like a cinema camera or even some bigger pro mirrorless cameras. It fills that gap between a smartphone and a dedicated video setup.
Right, optimizing for a very specific dynamic use case, convenience and ease, but still good quality. And then there's Aang's final Panasonic point, the premium LX series for everyday shooting, premium and everyday. That sounds like an interesting mix. What does that combo actually mean for a camera in this situation? Is it just a fancy point and shoot, or is there more to it?
Premium everyday is actually a really appealing category. It points to wanting high-quality photos without giving up convenience or portability. And no, they're usually more than just fancy point and shoots. Often they're fixed lens cameras, but with sensors that are bigger than average, maybe a 1-inch sensor, or even APS-C size like you find in many interchangeable lens cameras. And they pair that sensor with a really excellent, usually fast, prime lens. The LX series, specifically, is known for having great Leica-designed optics and lots of manual controls. But in a small, discrete package, it kind of bridges that gap between your smartphone, which is super convenient, and a big professional DSLR or mirrorless kit. For everyday shooting, you want something you can always have with you, doesn't draw attention, but can still take amazing photos with nice blurry backgrounds, good low-light performance. For street photography, grabbing spontaneous family moments, travel shots where you don't want to lug a huge bag around. It's about getting really top-notch performance and control in a camera that just fits into your daily life. Lives your casual photos way beyond a phone without feeling like a burden. Discretion plus quality, basically.
That makes a ton of sense. Having a serious camera that doesn't shout pro gear and can genuinely beat a phone for quality day to day. Okay, so Aang has these really diverse dreams for new gear. Specific cameras for specific needs, rugged adventure, artistic purity, modern vlogging, premium everyday shots. It's a whole vision. But then, yeah, the reality check. It's very human. Aang says, the opportunity is always there, not so with a fat wallet, and my mood all these years have been rather stoic. Ooh, that really grounds things, doesn't it? Brings it all back down to earth.
It really does. And it brings up that crucial point about the practical side of any creative passion, really. It kind of reminds me of like a car enthusiast who's got a perfectly good car but is always dreaming about that vintage classic or some high-performance beast. It's rarely just about need. It's about dreaming of new experiences, new aesthetics. For Aang, the desire for these cameras is clearly strong. But the budget thing, the not so with a fat wallet, that's a hurdle pretty much everyone faces, right? Especially creatives. And beyond money, Aang also mentions their stoic mood. That suggests maybe a personal outlook, perhaps a resistance to impulse buys, being careful about big purchases, or even just be kind of content with what they have, even while dreaming of the new stuff. That mindset is huge in deciding if these wish lists actually happen. It's that classic dilemma for so many creative people. Balancing that drive to improve, explore new things with the hard realities of money, and maybe even just your own personality, shows that even when you know exactly what you want, actually getting it involves more than just desire. It's external stuff, internal stuff, all mixed together.
Yeah, that tension between what you want and what's practical. I think most of us can relate to that, whether it's cameras or something else entirely. So we explored Aang's really interesting wish list today. We went from the tough, artistically focused Pentax systems, that unique monochrome sensor, over to the versatile premium Panasonic options for everything from vlogging to high-quality everyday shots. It's been a tour through specific tech, like weather sealing, black and white sensors, great compact lenses, and how they serve really different photo needs.
Exactly. And this whole deep dive, it's not just about cameras themselves. It's about where passion, specific tool design, and real-world limits all meet up. We saw how unique features, like that black and white only sensor, appeal to a very particular artistic drive, that pure vision. While a compact vlogging setup meets the needs of today's content world, it really shows how photographers, like any artist, think hard about the tools that fit their vision and their practical situation best. Even if those tools stay on the wish list for a while, it really supports the idea that the right tool isn't always the fanciest or most expensive one. It's the one that best helps you do that specific creative thing you want to do, even if it means making some trade-offs.
That's a great way to put it, choosing the tool for the specific intention. So connecting this back to you listening, thinking about Aang's list and their challenges, what do you prioritize when you dream about your ideal creative tool? Is it the absolute cutting edge features? Is it that bulletproof durability? Or maybe just that sweet spot, the perfect balance of quality and usability that fits into your actual life? And maybe more importantly, how much do those practical things, budget, maybe even your own stoic mood, shape those dreams for you? Something to think about as you look at your own creative goals, maybe your own wish lists.